Hi, everybody. This is Jeffrey at Ripe Color, and welcome back to Tarot Tuesdays. And if you're new, welcome to Tarot Tuesdays. Tarot Tuesdays is a series that I began that we talk about one card a week. And my incredible guest this week is Leslie Lowe, who has been reading Tarot for over 50 years. Considering the fact that she's 35, I don't know how that works. And, you know, myself, I'm 36. So I've only been reading for 20 years.
You don't look a day over 35.
So this week's card is the Chariot. And it's card number 7. So you're being my guest, Leslie. Leslie is based in New York. And I met Leslie through, how did we meet? What was that thing?
Through Mark
Yes,
Cribble.
yeah, but what was that event that
I was doing a discussion about the Tarot at
Right.
Westwest, which is an arts community housing place in the West Village.
Right.
And it was by coincidence that it fell on my birthday. That was when the space was available.
And I remember you just took somebody from the audience and you were just, and I was like, oh my God, does she get the cards? Does she get the cards? So that's why you are here as my guest. See,
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's begin the beginning. So the Chariot. Tell me about the Chariot. Tell me about your interpretation, your experience, please.
Okay. Well, in preparation or ruminating about this tape today, this recording, I was recalling when I was in California many years ago, I had a dynamic friendship with someone who could truly be called a mad scientist. He worked for JPL Laboratories. He was a rocket scientist.
Wow.
But a really Jewish and would take acid and hunt for Nazis with a rifle. But he had a fascination with the card, the Chariot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd already used the Weight deck,
Mm-hmm.
Pamela Coleman Smith's deck.
Right.
And I'd already used the Palladini deck. Mm-hmm. But because of my fascination with symbols, etc., mm-hmm. I have preferred for several years the Thoth deck, mm-hmm. as designed by Aleister Crowley and Lady Frida Harris. The mm-hmm. women that do, that are involved in creating these decks don't get enough credit. So I always make a point of mentioning Lady Frida Harris, right? And it's a beautiful card, but I mentioned my friend in that because he was working for NASA, mm-hmm. designing rockets, he was fascinated with this card and he considered it the astronaut. Because, all right, he was a Cancer, the sign Cancer, and he pointed out to me, he's enveloped in a suit of armor, which could be the suit of an astronaut. Mm-hmm. And it's a canopy of stars, right, which mm-hmm. could be outer space. Mm-hmm. And the knight, which when he comes up in a reading, I point out he's a knight in shining armor in the best sense of the word. Mm-hmm. He's holding the Holy Grail. And mm-hmm. this card comes up a lot when there's a serious family issue. Mm-hmm. And he protects the family. Mm-hmm. And the sign of Cancer, as you know, is
it's all about home and family.
All about, yeah.
Right.
And so here's this tough exterior traveling through space, right? Pretending this tender interior, which is the Holy Grail, which could be interpreted as the womb or like the very feminine mm-hmm. part of the family, right? Like mom, okay? Mm-hmm. And there are 4 sphinxes, whereas in the deck, the Weight deck, 2. There's 2.
Right.
Black and white.
Right.
Negative, positive, right?
Right.
So ever since then, I have been intrigued by the idea that this is the astronaut mm-hmm. that travels into vast distances. And I think this card is especially relevant today because of all the accomplishments that NASA has had recently.
Mhm.
I forget the name of this new telescope that's millions of miles away, but the Hubble telescope, you know, we're getting incredible images from outer space, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and also because both my brothers are Cancers, I'm a Taurus, right? This comes up a lot with my nice brother. He's always asking, like, how do I do this, that, and the other thing? Because he has a family, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So perhaps, you know, I've been designing cards one by one. It's taking me forever, but perhaps this will be the next design. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
So um, I could talk more about this card, but let me give you a little background on myself and how I got involved. Okay.
Sure.
Speaking of family, my mother gave me a kind of bastardized tarot. It was by Zolar, right? And he appropriated Pixie, Pamela Coleman Smith's deck, and he put his own very kind of showbiz hustle type thing on it. It was a 3-color printing, so on and so forth. And I was I wasn't living at home, and I was under a great deal of distress and stress. And one card kept coming up again and again and again, and it was the 9 of Swords.
Mhm.
And at first I was like, yeah, you know. But the 9 of Swords shows a woman weeping in bed
Right.
with 9 swords hanging over her head. And it kept coming up, and it was so fitting for what I was going through. That's when I thought there's something to this, right?
Mhm.
And then just kind of casually, I started reading for friends, as much out of curiosity as anything. And and I have to stress, I don't consider myself a psychic.
Mhm.
I consider myself more a deductive.
Yeah.
I deduce from what I see in the cards.
Mhm.
Okay. And I have incredible moments. And then, you know, there's sometimes the cards just don't want to talk.
Mhm.
Right. And I usually do like a 13, maybe 14 card spread that's
Mhm.
adapted from the Celtic Cross. I've tried any number of spreads through 50 plus years, right? Uh, so I've developed this more or less the Celtic Cross with a couple of additions. And but a lot can be accomplished with 3 cards.
Right. I do the 3-card reading is my specialty. And for
Okay.
me, I don't do it as a past, present, future. I do the 3-card reading really as one. Like all of it, they all feed off each other, and
Mm-hmm.
that becomes a story. And
Mm-hmm.
see, for me, I get it. I'm a real intuitive reader, so I'll throw 3 cards, and then it's almost as the cards are coming out or as I put them down, I get a feeling about
Mm.
what it is, and then I try to interpret my feeling. I do interpret. I don't try. I succeed
Yes.
in interpreting the feeling into the cards. So the
Right.
feeling is the core, and then I have to interpret it into what those cards are. And it could be the same 3 cards, but on different days it's a different thing,
Mhm.
you know. And that's interesting, you know, how that works.
So
Um,
yeah,
yeah, so that's the
especially
way
with
it works for me. And this is such an interesting thing because there are some readers that are more deductive, right? And there are days that I'm really very much like that. And then there are also days that it's totally intuitive. And that probably has to do with, like, I'm a Scorpio with a Virgo rising. So I have that intuitive thing, but I also have that, I'm going to use my mind because I'm a Virgo and I'm ruled by Mercury. So
right,
I kind of have a little bit of both, you know?
right.
Yeah.
Well, 3 card readings can be, especially when someone is in a state of really serious crisis and needs an answer
Right.
right away,
Right.
right? I helped someone find their passport just before they were leaving that way.
Right.
No, I should say the cards helped me to help her,
Right. Right.
right? And as I said, in a state of crisis, and also, like, however long or short the reading, uh, some cards will keep popping up, like
Right,
when you do readings for the same person, right?
right,
And I interpret that as like, okay, you have the Seven of Cups in the past, okay? That's bad news, especially with the relationship and health, etc. If it pops up again in the future, it's something you got to keep track of,
right,
like like your health, right?
right, right.
And there's also, especially people asking about a relationship. Too often, I've gotten to the point to say, let him go, get a career, make a
Mhm,
lot of money, and don't
mhm.
worry about him, right? That's been happening a lot lately. I don't know what's going on. I've
Well,
had,
I think what's really going on is that we all have, at this point, it's like we really have to develop I mean, I'm talking about this for months,
right,
even before the fire, is that this sense of security that, so much of our society is based in. It's like, oh, it's got to be money and a relationship and a house, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, the sense of security is in one's own soul. That's the real sense of security, because that's what you take with you everywhere you go. And the sense of the connection with something higher. That's the real security, because that's what goes through with us through all our lives, right? You live
right.
here, you live there, your money comes, your money goes, you get skinny, you get fat, they're there, they're not there, you have the job, you don't have the job, that's life, right? You have your health, you don't have your health. So I think, for me personally, I mean, this is where I am in my life. And this is where I think most people are in their lives. It's like, no, I have to find a real core. And the real core has to be me, my soul, my heart. You're right.
Well, it could be the pandemic too.
Yeah, but
Every
I think it's bigger than that. I think that's
yeah,
just like
okay.
uh, a symptom, a symptom. But let's get back, because I think people are watching this. It's like, I really want to know about the card. So let's get back to the card. Let's get back to like 7, to the Chariot, to Cancer.
Okay. Card in hand. I as part of an advertising thing I did, Alice in Wonderland, towards the end, she goes, "You're nothing but a pack of cards," right? You have to Okay, what should we
I mean,
discuss?
so let's talk. So like the traditional, so for me also, the numbers are super important. So
Okay.
this is card 7. So
Mhm.
7 is about confidence. 7 is about maintain yourself, be confident, right? And there's an energy in the card, because he has the dark and the light sphinx. And it's like, okay, so it's going to be a little bit of a balancing act. It's going to be a little bit of like, I have to focus on this now. Oh, well, the dark one wants to really take me here. And it's like, maybe I need to reel it in. So there's a certain focus and confidence that he's got, that because he's, because that's Cancer, right? So even the glyph of Cancer is like, is the tide coming in? Is the tide going out? Is the
Right.
tide coming in? So there's that energy of like, I have to manage these energies. I have to manage. So there, and for me, like, he's like the young man, he's like Joe College. He just graduated, right? And he's got the enthusiasm of youth. He has this energy of like, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. Because, it's like, as you get older, it's sort of like, well, I tried that before. I don't think it's going to work. He hasn't tried that much. So he's like, yeah, I can do it. He has that energy of like enthusiasm and focus, and I've got it behind me, and let's go. Let's go. Because and that's why a lot of people interpret the Chariot as swiftness, right? Let's go.
Right.
And for me also, there's this tremendous intuitive quality to him, because his third eye is a lit, and the moons are on his shoulder. He has this energy of like, I'm being guided, right? I'm being guided by, the mystery of the moon, and I have it in my third eye, and I foresee where it's going to, I foresee what my destination is. That's the energy for me in the Chariot. And I love that you really bring it into home. Yeah, I think that's fascinating.
There are a lot of associations with the moon in this
Absolutely.
deck as well. There's a crescent moon. It's
Mhm.
somewhat obscured by the sphinxes, right? But
Mhm.
you get the idea, right? And Cancer is associated with the moon as a planet, right? And though it's this, like I said, a knight in shining armor, there's a very feminine and like, how can I say, it's not a hard structure.
Mhm.
It's like this thing that moves, right? And I don't know if you've ever watched the movie Ben-Hur when they're doing
Yeah,
chariot race. Managing a chariot apparently was a very, very difficult, challenging task, and anybody who could do it,
right,
bravo,
right.
And so I think that was also part of my friend's fascination with this card, the guy that works for NASA, right?
Mhm.
And he was a Cancer, is that the propelling the energy and being able to maneuver it through, shall we say, a liquid or not a hard surface as such.
Mhm. Mhm.
Life is not a hard surface. It may feel like it many times,
Mhm.
but it's more like, I don't know if I'm really making any sense, um but I'm totally with you on the idea of youth,
Mhm.
uh not necessarily tempered by experience.
Right.
It's not malicious, it's not
No.
calculating, it's got tons of energy, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Tons of
Mhm.
energy,
Mhm.
enviable, um and the card that preceded, well, in my mind at least, or at least the way I have read, uh he is the lieutenant of the emperor.
Mhm.
The emperor is solid, he's fought his battles. This is his lieutenant who
Mhm.
keeps track of things, right? And has the energy to do it,
Right.
right?
Right.
And if this is not a chariot, it could be a car
Right.
or a rocket. Okay, so
Right.
I like that
Right.
idea.
Or a speedboat, not a
Or a
rowboat,
speedboat.
a
Oh,
speedboat.
that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A speedboat, which, is quite interesting to maneuver as well.
Right,
Right.
right,
Right.
right.
And it's funny that you should talk about, I like the glyphs a lot here. I'm going to do a little thing. So that's the thing about the glyph of, I think the glyphs are amazing. For all the signs. I think they're really ancient, and I'm going to make a really lousy one.
When you
So
say glyph, are you referring to the sign?
yeah,
The thing that looks like two sixes?
right. It's sort of like that. I mean, this is a really bad,
Right,
but
right.
to me, that's the rolling sea. To me, that's the tide coming in, the tide going out, the tide coming in, the tide going out. And Cancer really can understand that. And it's like, now's the time to move. This is how he manages the Chariot.
Mhm.
Now's the time to move. Now's the time to slow down. Now's the time to move. Now's the time to slow down. And, sometimes Cancer has this energy of, I don't really want to feel that feeling, so I'm going to disappear. I'm
Yeah,
going to avoid that feeling and disappear.
I want to hide in my ship.
Yeah. And I had a friend who, God bless him, he's not here with us. He used to call taxi drivers in New York crabbies because they move sideways.
They are. Well, they're
Because they
also
move
crabby.
sideways, right? They don't really quite go, they sort of move that way and that way and that way. They move sideways. This is how they go through traffic.
Nothing's on a straight line, no. It's really not in New York.
Well, it's also about like his intuitive understanding of the lay of the land And it's like, okay, there's a pothole or a molehill coming up. I got to go around it because I have a destination to get to. There's that
Right.
energy, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that comparison. Crabby.
Yeah. And I also, whenever, see what always, another big part of what that came to me, through experience is like his third eye is alit. So it's almost like he has this vision of where he's going, and it might be a real place, it might not be a real place, it might be sort of his fantasy in a way, but it's like, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. And I'm young and I'm enthusiastic and I haven't been, clobbered over enough by people. Because how sometimes when you see somebody on the street from far away, you can tell how old they are by the bounce in their walk.
By their walk and
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. They got that swag. They got that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm confident,
And I think what you're suggesting too is enthusiasm and optimism.
Yes. Yes.
Whereas, okay, the Hierophant, he's wise, right? Spiritual guide. He knows he's tons of experience.
Right.
The Emperor has fought and won his battles, right?
Right.
There's also, there's kind of a sidebar, right? I was reading the Book of Thoth interpretation of this card before our meeting today. And there's a lot of associations with the priestess because she represents the moon and phases of the moon and that water flowing energy. I'm thinking of, I want to say it was Florence Farr from the Golden Dawn. One of them wrote a book about living close to the ocean, piers, and she wore moonstones. She wore, everything was associated with the moon and water and so on and so forth. So that came to mind when I was reading that.
Yeah. I always associate the high priestess with Isis.
Me too.
Yeah, with Isis, and she understands. See, the thing about the high priestess is that she's like the mystery of creation. She's the mystery of creation. So she's sitting between the dark and the light like he is, right? But she's creating like on an ethereal plane. And it's almost like she's not quite ready to reveal it, or sometimes she is, sometimes she's not, she's weird, sometimes she reveals the light, sometimes she keeps it, right? She goes back and forth because she's Isis, she's behind the veil. But this is the first card in my estimation, like when I'm thinking about it all the way through, now we're moving. It's like, okay, it was created and it's like, I got a goal and I'm going for it. Yeah, I'm moving. So, and I understand that how he's related to the high priestess, but she's more in a state of really creating. She's she's magic. She obviously magic. So she creates by going like this, that's all she does, or thinking about it and it manifests. He goes out into the world and does it, right? It's different,
Yes.
Yeah. And it's also, in a certain way, you could see the wheels of the chariot almost as the pillars, which show up in, like a million cards.
Right? Yes. Well, in this card, they point out that the chariot wheels are red and they're making certain associations with the planet Jupiter because it's like the card fortune.
Right.
It has hubs and axis, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's also an association with Mars.
Well, red.
Red, right?
Right. Well, if he's the lieutenant of the emperor is definitely Mars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he's got like the emperor's money or the emperor's will or the emperor's desire sort of behind him. So yeah, so if he's combining the high priestess and the emperor, no wonder he's confident.
Truly, truly,
It's no
truly.
wonder he's confident and no wonder he's focused, but he still has a job to do, and
Right.
like there are certain jobs, it's like, okay, I got to manage this and I got to manage that and I got to manage that, but I'm going to manage. There's that energy,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I see, and to me, all the sevens have there's a certain confidence, 'cause, I mean, the sevens can go either way, but in the positive side of all the sevens, it's like, this dude has the high ground, so he's going to be okay. This one planted good seeds, so he's going to be okay. This one, sometimes I read as use your own thoughts, don't use somebody else's thoughts, right? It's your thoughts that are the good ones, take yours and use yours. And then this one in a positive light, right? It'd be like, choose whatever you want, choose your joy. So it's kind of like have confidence in like, yeah, I want to go get money, then I'm going to go get money, or I want to go get love, I'm going to go get love. So there's an energy of confidence of like, and it's a seven, it's good luck.
Lucky seven. There's also seven in what is that song? Jimi Hendrix did it. And Muddy Waters. I'm the seventh son of the seventh son.
Right. Right.
It
Right.
doesn't get more confident than that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So so you're working on developing your own deck.
Yeah, it's an interpretation from the many years. Okay. And I have done 10 designs out of 78, right? I showed you the levers and art, otherwise known as temperance. I did art mostly, well, very much because I am an artist and the very word I relate to art, right? And in the Thoth deck, it's a successful combination of different elements, and therefore it's compared to the alchemist.
Right.
And when this card shows up for whomever, I say, well, in the hands of a magician or an artist, you can take orange and purple and mix it, and it's brilliant. In the hands of someone who is not an artist,
right, it looks like vomit with blueberries. Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And the digital ones were when I was learning Photoshop. It's a long story how I ended up at a computer resource center. I didn't have a studio, but in this New York Department of Parks and Recreation, they had these wonderful mentors, really, and got me started with Photoshop. And I realized at some point, especially when you have a really nice Mac, it's big, right, that you could paint in that program.
Yeah.
And to do art or the levers, for those who do know Photoshop, I often had like up to 35 layers and I had to consolidate them all, etc. Having 5 layers is considered a lot for some people. When I had to clear everything out, my mentor said, you've got enough here for a 4-hour DVD. You've got to clear it out. That was another lesson, okay, about Photoshop. One of these days, I'll finish them all.
Yes, I know you will.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this trip to Mexico, because I'll be kind of keeping a low profile, I will be bringing my laptop and I can do Photoshop on it. And, as I do whatever, I can concentrate on that project along with a couple of others.
And you offer private readings, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and I will include the information as to how to get in touch with you.
Okay.
And now, so do we want to say anything wrapping up with the Chariot?
Vroom, vroom.
What kind of a sound does a rocket ship make, I wonder? So all of you that are learning to read tarot,
There
when
you go.
you're in the middle of a reading and you put
And
this
keep in
down and you
mind,
go,
an astronaut is in a gravity-free environment, right? Both inside and outside the rocket, right? That just occurred to me, right? So they're literally like trying to maneuver safely, and oh man, you got to be
and that could be the
brave.
energy, that could also really be the energy of Cancer, because Cancer has this profound, intuitive quality, and it's really like floating around in the ether. And if you have a focus as to like, that's my destination, I'm going to avoid that evil planet or whatever, then a little bit of that. Right. Yeah. Oh, here comes a comet.
Get out of the way. Nice comet. We have a very pretty tail, comet. Very pretty tail.
So now that you all completely understand
Oh,
the
sure.
Chariot, I really love doing this series. I really do.
Oh, I love it. I hope maybe you'll recruit me for another card further in the future, because I know you've got how many cards to go now?
This a lot.
Oh, yeah.
a lot. And I'm looking forward to, all of them, and it's also because, there are certain cards that I have like 30 meanings to, and there are certain other ones, it's like, I don't know, it's almost like it has yet to reveal itself to me more. And what's happened is that because I read so much now, I read absolutely every day. So, because I do the dailies, I also do weeklies, I do monthlies, I do full moon, and so I'm making like, oh my God, like 90 videos a month or something.
Wow.
So, and aside from private readings, like as they go on, they reveal more and more and more of themselves, more and more and more.
That's one of the beauties of the tarot.
Yeah.
Whichever deck you use, right? You never stop learning.
Right.
Never.
Right. It's a lot, in a certain way, it's a lot like, for me, it's like cooking, right?
Oh, yeah.
So as you cook longer and longer, it's like, okay, so you have I love peppers, right? So you have peppers, it's like, well, if I dice them and I put them in this, it'll give it a little zing, it'll give a little color, it'll give it a little texture. It's like one time I made a sauce out of, I steamed red peppers and skinned them. I don't know how I managed. And I mixed it with tomato. It was like, oh my God. Oh my, like I didn't even know peppers could do that, Or, oh, well, you could put them in the oven and stuff them with there are a million. And as you understand the nature of the beast, you could start experimenting, and then more things will come to you. And then it'll be, well, this is really my interpretation. And that's what I also want to stress in that to the viewers. It's like your personal interpretation is the right interpretation. Is, well, the book says, it's like, okay. Yeah. The book says, that's nice. I mean, it's a good starting point.
Yeah.
It's a good starting point, but you might take it to the very edge of what that means. And that's the right interpretation for you. And trust your gut. The more you trust your gut, the stronger it gets. It's a muscle, right? The more I cook, the more I'm confident in my cooking. And, I'm going to take us to the right food planet. So to speak.
Isn't that another site? Planet Food.
Yum, 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 yum. So this neighborhood I'm in, I have this, I wanted to go to one restaurant yesterday, and I was going to go with my friend, and then he had to go. And there's a place like around the corner from me, and they specialize in Oaxaqueña, which is like the food of Oaxaca. which is like the most amazing place, one of the most amazing places in Mexico. Anyway, this place has the best mole poblano I've ever had in my life, ever. And it's like literally around the corner, literally. I might go back there today.
I might
anyway,
go there with you when I
yeah,
arrive.
it's really good. All
So
right,
is this an opportune time to repeat my name and my contact specs?
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. For those interested in a personal reading, you can reach me by Leslie Lowe and direct mail,
LOWE.
LOWE, and my email address is nefernegra@gmail.com. And I will spell that for you. It's N as in Nancy, E, F as in Frank, ER, N as in Nancy, E, G as in George, RA@gmail.com.
Perfect.
And I find it interesting, the people that understand what that means. Nefer means beauty or beautiful in ancient Egyptian language, okay? Negra is black girl. So when you have Nefer Negra, it's like beautiful black girl. And it's the name of a cat I had. She's on the other side now, right? But it's my cat's old name.
And
so.
I'm going to include a on the description page below. I will include that so you can actually just hopefully just click it and it goes right into your email.
Right.
And you could
right.
say la 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 la.
Right. Right.
I'm an astronaut.
Adapt or die, you know.
Exactly. Well,
Jeffrey, it was truly a pleasure.
Blessings.
I enjoyed this immensely.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Till we meet again. Adios.
Adios. Okay, now I have to figure out how to turn this off without turning the two of us off. Okay.
Okay.
Stop recording. Is this the one?